Hi, you've tuned in to Gila Nehemia, a sacred erotic love mentor, poet, and author, and this is my collaboration Ascension series. And I am here with Nailea Guerrero, and I've been following her for quite some time. And I'm just really, really pleased that she was able to come on and do an interview with me. So thank you, Nailea, for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on your channel.
Thank you. Nailea is do you say angelic reader? What is the term that you use for yourself?
Yeah, I call myself an angelic channel because I work with angels, but I'm basically a reader, a psychic. I work with cards, also my intuition. I have strong clairvoyant abilities as well. But I just call myself an angelic channel, basically.
Fantastic. And the reason that one of the questions I'd like to ask you today is how you found this calling of yours. A lot of my viewers and my clients are stepping into their power and finding their own gifts. So if you can give us a little bit of background, that would be fantastic.
It took me a while to get to where I am now. My whole life intuitive. I've had the same gifts. I didn't know exactly what that meant or if I was supposed to do anything with that. But I basically fell into what I'm doing now when I decided to follow my heart, like when I decided to follow what my passion was. Because I was trying a lot of different things, trying to find my way all throughout my 20s almost. And, it just got to a point where I said, you know what, I just want to do what feels right. I want to do what really calls me, what I'm passionate about. It's really spirituality. So I started exploring that. I explored different tools, different divination methods. I took different classes just to, explore different things. And then it basically turned into this because, I started doing Reiki, but I noticed that during Reiki sessions, I would actually like channel messages from the person that I was doing Reiki on. Like I would get all kinds of stuff, like visions about them and guidance they needed. I would connect to their guides, but by the time the Reiki session was finished, I'd kind of forget, So then that kind of showed me that I was supposed to help people in that way. Like I could really tune into what they were going through, really sense what they were feeling, what they were. I was guided to start working with reading. I've always connected to angels, but like I knew they were guiding me, but it was only until I decided to follow this path that I really started paying attention to them. I'm like, okay, what do you think is best? What's your guidance? Please help me with, these clients or with finding my way here. So when I started really working on that, I also started connecting more to the angels as well. And that's basically how I started. It grew from there. I created a spiritual online business. I knew that I was going to be working with people online and in different parts of the world. So I was very happy to start social medias and my own website and started from there.
Fantastic. And a few questions about that, people who are starting their own businesses. Were you just guided or did you take like courses to be able to build it? Like how did you send the word out?
You know what? I just followed my intuition when it came to that. And looking back now at all the different like jobs that I explored, I see now how they all helped me. Like for a while I was a makeup artist, and so I learned how to create business cards and a website and make sure everything looks good and it matches and it's engaging. And I worked in retail for a while, so I knew how to talk to people. Looking back, everything that I did, it wasn't a mistake. It was really helping me to later create this business. But most of all, I really just followed my gut. I knew that I had to create a website. At the time, I was very inspired by Doreen Virtue when she was still doing this work. And so I saw that she posted a daily card of the day. And so I started doing something similar. And I noticed other readers were doing something similar as well. So it was really just about kind of following my, like, okay, I connect to that. I want to post cards. I knew that would get my message out there. I knew that people would find me that way. So I started doing that. But everything, I created it myself from scratch pretty much just by following my guidance. And just little details, like how do you, what do you use to get people to book you on your website? I just kind of would explore other people, like what's another person doing, you know, and I would get inspired. I just followed my gut. I know it's hard when you start a spiritual business because you have no idea what you're doing. I do with that as well, besides my readings. But I always recommend to follow your gut, do what feels right. If you feel like you want to connect to people online, or if you want to have a store, you know, it's up to you. As long as you're following your passion and your drive, the support will come to you. You know, the ideas, the right website, the right person to help you, it'll all come.
That's so true. And I love that, because that's a lot of what you say in your, you know, when you do your readings or when you're on YouTube. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line always that I hear from you is to follow your heart.
Yeah, it's really the answer to everything. I mean, that's how I got started in my business, you know, and also around the same time was when I met my, you know, divine counterpart. Some people call them twin flames. So it all kind of aligned. Like at that moment, at that point in my life, I was like, okay, I'm following my heart when it comes to my connection, but also my business. So it's like I align my whole life, you know, to match my heart basically. And I find that holds the most power, because that's what we're meant to do. And when we come from that space of love, everything comes to support you. The clients you need, the people that you're meant to help, you know, everything just aligns with that.
Right. I completely agree with you. And I think, you know, any of our followers, that when you are in that space of love, when you open your heart and fully trust, you know, because sometimes it's hard to fully trust, part of the path, I think. But when you're in that space, then you can allow more and receive.
Exactly. Yeah. Being in that's very magnetic, you know, it draws people to you. It draws everything to you.
Yes. And I guess another question that I was thinking about is when we have some fear, feeling like there's, you know, everyone has some fear when they're going in this path, especially because they can't see it and they just have to feel kind of their way through. What would be your recommendation for issues like that?
When it comes to anything, pretty much.
Yeah, specifically it could be their connection, their career, because, you know, I work with the sacral chakra and desire, and that's in the same place. So usually you know, what I've seen happen even in my own life and in my clients' life is like when our businesses are moving, when we're in our own power, you know, our connection also is strengthened. But to get there is somewhat challenging. So in that space.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a kind of an ongoing lesson working through fear, because fear, it's pretty much always present. You know, I say this a lot, that a lot of people ask me, well, how do I get rid of it? You know, and the thing is, you can't, but you can choose to not listen to it. And this happens with your connection, but also with your work. It's like the fear is there and it's trying to stop you because it's trying to keep you safe, and it thinks, you know, if we're in this little box, we're safe. But if you're in that box, you're not growing, you're not expanding, you're not creating, right? So I think it's this constant like learning. You eventually get it, but at first it's really about learning to not listen to the fear and to move forward, even if it's there. Because you can be afraid, but that does not have to stop you from anything, right? So as long as you choose to not listen to it, because that's your power to choose, you can still move forward even though you're afraid, pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I actually think that, and let me know if you agree, that when we are moving forward in our business, because it takes a lot of confidence, and sometimes, you know, we might fall and have to get up again. And as we build that and we depend on our intuition and use our intuition and our angels to move forward, I think it actually strengthens the connection, because you're starting to use those muscles.
Right. Yeah, and that's going to happen. You know, there's going to be moments when you fall or something doesn't work out and maybe you feel discouraged. But the more that you work at it, you choose to not listen to the fear, you move forward with your guidance, it strengthens that. And you'll notice that after time, the fear gets weaker and you start to become better at recognizing when it's fear. And you're like, okay, that's fear. I don't have to listen to that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Just some more questions about your own intuitive gifts. Like, you know, do you actually see the angels? Are they talking to you? Do you hear them? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I see lights with my physical eyes, but I mostly see them with the clairvoyant vision, which to me, it looks like a vision on the inside. You know, so like if I look at somebody, I can sense like, okay, maybe you have, you know, Archangel Michael on this side, and I can sense him very strongly there, things like that. But it's more of like an inner vision. Like I can't physically see it. You know, it's more like I know it's there, I sense it, but then I'm kind of seeing it in my mind. Does that make sense? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious because like, you know, all of us have these different gifts. Like I have these gifts with words, and when I'm writing, I see them vividly, you know, as I'm writing it. And then I've actually found that after I like write my poetry and I publish it or something, it's actually prophetic. Like it comes true, even though it's feeling a kind of emotion when I was writing it. I see more of it after time passes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's how it is when you're channeling, you know, writing books and like creative work like that, for sure. It's almost like you're channeling it, and then it's prophetic for sure. But yeah, for me, I guess you could say it's kind of similar. Like I guess it's hard to describe because it's not a physical vision. You know, I'm not physically seeing these angels because they don't actually have bodies; they're energy. But I do see them with that kind of inner clairvoyant vision. So when I'm doing readings for people, I'll sometimes see them around the person if the person is very strongly connected to angels. But when I'm doing readings, like for example on my YouTube, I sense Archangel Michael to my top right, and also some other angels kind of lower, and they speak to me, but they speak to me through vision. So they'll kind of show me things, or they'll just give me a feeling. So sometimes I'm like looking down, and it's because I'm trying to pay attention. Like, what are they saying? What am I seeing here? And then I try to put whatever I'm seeing into words.
So that's fascinating because I know I've had friends who can hear, so they're like listen. So that's why I was asking, because it's very fascinating to me.
Yeah, I don't always hear them, but the only one I really ever hear, like literally I'll hear something in my mind, it's Archangel Michael. He's very loud. He likes to speak to people a lot. And his voice is very masculine, it's very strong, but light at the same time. So it's kind of difficult to ignore.
Wow. Oh, that sounds amazing. And I think it's nice to share, because I think that a lot of people, sometimes they do it alone, you know, and they feel like they have this power, they don't know what to do with it. And so I feel it's really helpful, you know, I bring different people on, it's really helpful to share that, because, you know, they feel like they can actually, you know, create something out of it. It's a service.
Absolutely. If you have a gift, it's given to you for a reason. You know, it's for you, but it's probably also for you to use to bring some kind of service, or, you know, write books or do something with it, for sure. And I love seeing that too. I think everyone's pretty different, you know, with their gift.
Right. And I guess another question I'd like to ask you, and, you know, you can choose to answer or not, is how, you know, many times, like for myself, I had to go through this kind of really, challenging period before I could actually realize that I had a gift, you know, because a lot of my life I didn't think I did, you know, it was just kind of moving through. So if you could share with us, you know, whatever you decide, but something that could help us, because I ask you this question because many people go through that. And sometimes they don't know, you know, if it's the right path, because it's challenging.
Yeah. I think that none of us really know necessarily that it's a gift, you know, whatever we have, whether it's seeing angels or anything else. Because I didn't know it was a gift either. I just thought, okay, I'm very sensitive. I sense this, you know, energy. I have prophetic dreams, different things. But I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. You know, and I think that it became clearer later when I started to get just this feeling like I'm supposed to do something. You know, I explored many different career paths. I knew none of them were it, although I was pretty good and enjoyed some of them. But it's like, but it's like I just was finding my way. And once I connected to spirituality, I realized like, oh, this is a gift. You know, I see things and I can kind of, you know, tune into people to see where they're at and all of that. And then it became clear that it's a gift. But do you mean like, how do people move forward with that?
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes, like, for example, you know, like I had a different profession, And I was like
Yeah.
looking for interviews, you know, like after I decided this is what I wanted to do, you know, I'm coaching, I'm writing, you know, and mentoring and using my gift. And so then I was still interviewing for the profession I used to have, and I wasn't getting any jobs, you know, like for a year, you know, and before it was like quickly, you know, I'd go on 2 interviews, like it was done. And I was like, what is Spirit trying to say to me? Like, should I stop?
Okay.
You know, like, do I need to stop and go here?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. When you have a spiritual mission, or when you're just, you know, you're meant to write great things or help people or whatever you're meant to do, and you're not doing it, Spirit finds a way to help you, like to push you in the right direction. That's definitely what happened to me. Because like I said, I was exploring all kinds of different things, jobs I thought I had to have, you know, I was going to school for all kinds of things. And nothing would, like, I wasn't bad at anything, right? But nothing would work out. Like, I just found that I wouldn't get jobs in what I was trying to do. I did have, I'd get fired a lot from jobs for no reason, like out of nowhere. They'd be like, you're gone. I'm like, what happened? You know? So then after a while, I realized, oh, Spirit was trying to redirect me, right? And that's what happens. You'll get this calling, like I'm supposed to do something. And if you don't do it, Spirit finds a way. Spirit finds a way to push you in the right direction. Absolutely. That's what happened to me as well. And once I realized, like, okay, nothing's working here, and I went back to school yet again, I realized, like, at the time, I had a major life change. I had a big breakup, and it was just, like, it kind of opened my eyes, like, hey, you know, I'm out of this relationship that I knew wasn't right for me. I knew it was kind of done, you know, it had run its course and everything. Why am I in school for something I don't really want to do, that I think is just going to make me money, that I think I need, but I don't really need, right? So once that kind of triggered something for me. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you know, I met my person, and then I fell into the right thing, and I started walking the right path, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, we're very protected, you know, so even if you're not doing the right thing, you'll get nudges. You'll get pushes in the right direction like that, so.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. So I'm glad
Got
that
it.
I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough. I was just too intuitive on that one. No, but I think that when we're in the challenge, it seems like so difficult to get through it, you know, like we're like, what is going on, you know, because we knew it worked before and it's not working. So we're just like, what?
Right.
But I always say to just kind of stick through it. And I think it's, for me, it was just to listen, like to just be quiet and not get stressed, you know, and that's when I felt the messages were coming through more clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that, you know, sometimes you'll do a job and maybe it just gets to a point where this is not it anymore. And now I'm called to, like, for you, it was writing, right? It's definitely frustrating, I think, when you're in the middle of that and you're trying to find your way. But I just had this, like, nagging feeling, like, you need to figure out what you're supposed to do. And for a while I thought, oh, that means find the right job. But then I realized, no, they're talking about your purpose. Like, what are you bringing, right? And when I decided, okay, it's, I know it's helping people. I don't know how exactly yet. But when I started to, like, listen, like you're saying, like, really listen to what they're saying, follow the little steps, because you'll be given steps and you just have to take them. Because once you take that first step, then the next one comes, and the next and the next, right? It's not really scary. It's a scary experience. It's scary to especially transition over from maybe like a normal, you know, 9-to-5 type of job to, like, writing or to, you know, reading and things like that. Because reading and, you know, artistic jobs, they're very unique paths, and we're kind of taught basically, like, I can't support you. You know, that's not conventional enough. But if you're called in that direction, you have to trust it. There's a lot of trust that comes into following your guidance.
Yeah, that's so true. And, you know, the reason I started this series was because of Ascension. You know, it's like part of our ascension into our true authentic self are to use our gifts. And it's, you're right, we're not taught. That's why it feels so challenging.
Yeah.
But when
there's no security behind it, you know?
Right. And no one really knows the path but you and your heart.
Exactly. Yeah. And that can be a scary thing, because then you don't have outside confirmation about it. But at the same time, you don't need it. And to know that, oh, what I love to do anyway, that's my purpose. That's all you need, right? It just feels weird because, yeah, we're not taught that. we're taught to be very like, conventional, and you have to work, a certain type of job, and that's it. Everything else doesn't really work. Not true. But that's what a lot of us are learning now, right, through Ascension.
Yes. And to trust our feelings. And, cause we can, we go like, I remember having card readings with you, or you reading something for me. And I remember saying to you, yeah, I already knew that.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to say it to me.
That's my favorite. So many people come to me with the same, same kind of path. They're like, I already knew all this. It's just, I needed somebody else to sort of like say the same thing. And I think it helps, because we don't need, confirmation, but I think it helps the ego. It helps us move past the ego. Like, okay, I'm just in fear, but what I'm sensing, it's totally accurate. Right. So it helps to have someone, especially in a reading. I love when people tell me like, I already knew that, or I pulled the same card for myself yesterday.
I wanted you to share any of the programs that you have. I know you do a variety of different things with people. So if you could share that for our listeners, someone may be new to you. Okay.
Yeah. So I do readings. I do my angel reading. It's a general reading. I also do my sacred union reading, which is for sacred unions, which some people call them twin flames. I like to call them divine counterparts. It's also a love reading. So if you have like your soulmate question, that works too. But besides the readings, I also do spiritual coaching and mentoring, where I help people on their spiritual path. And this could be to start a new business, spiritual business, or it could just be to hone in on their gifts for themselves, to help themselves in their life. So that one's kind of open, but it's basically mentoring. I notice that I help people start their business, or to just understand their gifts, to learn how to trust them.
Wonderful.
So I offer those two different things, basically.
And they can access that via your website?
Yes, it's on my website, NaileaGuerrero.com. It's all on there, in the bookings, and you can find me on there.
Okay, wonderful. And if you didn't get that, I will have that in the YouTube details. So don't worry about the if you don't know how to spell her name, it's all going to be there. Is there anything that you'd like to, any kind of a channeled message you'd like to tell anyone in this who is listening to this interview, or just a technique or tip that you use in order for you to help your growth, if people are feeling a challenge currently at the moment?
Okay. So you want me to channel a message, basically?
No, you could either choose to either say whatever you feel about, people who are going through a specific challenge right now, because if they may be going through fear and stepping into their power, I feel like that is kind of the collective going into their sovereign power, and they're just feeling challenged because it's scary. And, if you just have a technique or tip that you'd like to share with them, that would be amazing, because then they could use that for themselves.
Got it. The number one thing I always tell people is you have to follow your heart. And it sounds so like cliche, and like we hear that, but it's important. I think we're even kind of taught like, oh, it doesn't mean anything, the heart and the feelings are just kind of annoying, and the emotions, but actually your heart holds your answers. So as long as you're following, not your ego desires, ego desires are more like, I want this and I want this now, and it's like demanding, right? A heart desire is different, because it's just like this deep inner feeling, kind of desire for something, right? And it's placed in you for a reason. So if you remember that you desire what you do for a reason, for a purpose, because it's meant for you, then it helps you to sort of trust that, okay, I'm meant to take this path. I'm meant to follow these steps that are going to lead me there. So I always remind people to follow their heart. That's the most important thing, I feel, in anything, not only just in your love life, but in your work, with your family. As long as you follow your heart, you're golden.
That's so true. And I think that, sometimes we're afraid to follow our hearts because we're afraid to open them. We're afraid to really receive which I feel is another collective message we're all experiencing, is to really receive everything that we're desiring. Like, it's like, oh my God, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it feels almost scary, like we didn't know that, like, or we somehow forgot that, oh, following our heart is the answer, because we are meant to have what we want. So many times I hear people say, like, but this seems too good to be true, you know, and it's like, I think we're afraid to receive what we want, even though we want it. So definitely collectively, we're all learning to open our hearts, connect to it, and trust it for guidance, and then be open to receive what comes from that. I think that's kind of a collective big lesson right now, for sure.
Right. I agree with you. And I would agree with anyone who's resonating with Nailea. I would recommend that you definitely book one of her readings, because they're amazing. I can vouch for that, because I've had them. And if she's calling to you, resonating with you, to go with her for spiritual mentoring or coaching, I would definitely encourage you to do that, because that's part of why I do this series. Because if there's somebody that's resonating with you, like, take that leap of faith, because we're here to work together, to ascend together.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. You know, if you feel drawn to me, or if you're like interested in, you know, what I do, a reading or mentoring, go for it, because that means that you're watching this video, you feel drawn to me for a reason. So if you feel like you're on the fence and you're too scared, just go for it.
Exactly. You know, you never know. I mean, it's actually listening to your heart, you know, like Nailea said earlier. And when we listen to our heart, even if it doesn't seem like, you know, where are we going to get the money? Usually, sometimes people are like that. And the money comes when the heart decides, you know, when we decide to go with our heart.
Absolutely. It's all about your intention. So if you're like, okay, I really want a reading with Nailea, you'll get the means necessary for it. I know sometimes that's for sure an issue. But I find that it's like suddenly you're able to, or, you know, I don't know, somebody gifts you a reading or something. Right. Absolutely.
The universe totally supports you in the upliftment of your life.
Exactly. It's all about just deciding first, committing to your desire. Like, okay, I want this. You know?
Right. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Are there any closing words you'd like to share before we end? I don't know, what else did you want me to talk about? You know, I could talk forever, but you know, anything that if you'd like to channel something, that would be fine. But if anything that you're feeling called or intuitively guided to share before we end this interview.
Yeah, I really feel I'm gonna pull a card, actually. This is from a mandala crystal deck. And it has different angels on it, different crystals, as well as numbers and vibrations. So I'll pull one there, since I have this out, and I was feeling drawn to it. So
yes, surprise gift from Nailea.
I do have to say though, while I was preparing to do this call with you, I kept seeing the color pink. I even kind of wore a light pink shirt because of that. It looks like you're wearing pink as well.
Yeah, I'm wearing pink too, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's something about the color pink. I mean, it's definitely connected to, you know, the heart chakra, love, innocence, trust. It's like red, but it's lighter, right? So I feel like maybe the color pink means something to someone out there. Mm. Okay, we have Archangel Michael, the number 8 card, and the crystal is lapis lazuli. So this one is called the Vision. It's an angel card. It has the number 444 on it. That's why I love these cards. They're very symbolic. I love this because, of course, Archangel Michael is one of my main guides. He's like the main one that I work with. But I love this. It's called the Vision. So what I get with this is that if you're watching this, I feel like you're somebody that has a vision about what you're meant to do. Maybe it's about your connection or your purpose, right? Trust the vision you're getting. With this, I feel like those of you watching this, you need more confidence in what you're seeing and what you're feeling. I think that's why I was talking a lot about following your heart and trusting your psychic ability, whether that's intuition or hearing or anything like that. Have confidence. If you could connect to Archangel Michael, he definitely helps with that. He helps you move past fear, release it so that you could have more confidence and trust your vision. I do feel like a lot of people watching are speakers. This could be writers or speakers, and maybe you're afraid of speaking, or maybe you don't feel 100% confident speaking. That's absolutely fine. So many people that do this work are not confident public speaking, but you learn, you know, because it's not about what you look like or what you sound like. It's about your message. It's about your purpose. So when you focus more on your vision and your purpose and what you're offering, you don't even care what you sound like, you know. But there's so many people that hold back. I see this with people that are watching this. You hold back because you think maybe you don't sound good enough, or you're not articulate enough, or you know, you just don't have enough confidence, but you do. All of that you'll learn along the way. That's part of your purpose as well. You know, it's to develop your confidence and your skill as you're following that purpose. So trust your vision. You have one, follow it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I actually love that stone as well. So,
Yeah,
I really do. It's very beautiful.
Me too. It's one that I actually work with a lot, especially when I'm speaking. So it's interesting. This is a new deck I've never really seen before. So I love that.
Interesting. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for reading that, you know, just sharing that with us, your intuitive gifts with us here today. And in line, if anyone's interested, definitely follow Nailea, as well as I have writing and mentoring services. So if you're interested in speaking your truth as well as writing it, definitely connect with me as well.
Awesome.
So
thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.